Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Thursday, January 6, 2011, and I'm Darko. New listeners, if you're just joining us, please go to my website, check it out, www.ggnonline.com. That is ggnonline.com. So we finished with this article here. Actually, we didn't finish it. Just want to read the first intro paragraph from the People's Daily Online called Central Bank Chief Warns of Inflation Risk. And there's been a lot of talk about inflation going on in Europe and Asia and the U.S. And it says here, China's central bank governor warned Wednesday that inflation was mounting and that more could be done to guide the growth of money, an indication that price pressures still top the list of official concerns. In an interview with the magazine run by the People's Bank of China, Zhu spoke confidently of the country's economic growth prospects, but he sounded a more cautious note on inflation, which is running at its fastest rate in more than 2 years. We'll move on here to credit cards. Credit card withdrawal. Banks pull the plug on consumer revolving debt. Credit card debt outstanding contracts from nearly $1 trillion to $800 billion. Bankruptcies on the rise, even with tougher bankruptcy laws. And keep moving on here with credit cards. I covered this yesterday, but it's an interesting article, just an interesting concept. So I'll cover it again in this economic news bulletin. Philanthropy plan, donate to charity every time you pay by bank card. People will be asked to give to charity every time they use a cash dispenser, or I guess that's ATM, or pay with a bank card, which is just what a lot of people do, their debit cards, under government plans to increase philanthropy. Wow, so look at that. So now when you swipe your card, you're going to be contributing towards eugenics. And it says here, banks are to adopt a system that allows people to make a small donation to charity whenever they withdraw cash. The government also wants shops to offer customers the opportunity to, quote, round up the pound when using a debit or credit card with the extra money going to charity. See, rounding up. It's kind of like that movie Office Space, remember? With that dude that helps them carry out that scam where they start rounding up. It's just a penny. And it comes out to like billions of dollars. Under the proposals, anyone making sizable charitable donations would get letters from the ministers. And the plans are unveiled on Wednesday in a discussion paper published by Francis Maud, the cabinet officer minister who wishes to foster a culture of charitable giving. Ooh. The proposals are likely to prompt accusations that ministers are hoping charities provide services to compensate for the coalition's public spending cuts. So there you go. Coming soon to debit cards near you, annual fees, fewer rewards. It may soon be time to rethink the automatic usage of a debit card, which, unlike a credit card, is tied to actual money held in a bank account, and which has been the preferred plastic of consumers eager to avoid annual fees and debt quickly piled up by swiping its cousin, the classic credit card. I don't understand that. They're just more convenient than carrying cash. Although when you use your debit card, it's all tracked, right? So if you use cash, it's totally private. Nothing is stored or tracked as far as your purchases go. So I don't really know what they're talking about there. But it says here, the Wall Street Journal has a story. Banks are thinking about imposing annual fees of $25 or $30 on debit cards, according to people familiar with bank strategies. Some also considering limiting the number of debit card transactions that a customer can make each month, these people said. Another idea circulating in the industry, limiting the size of a purchase that a customer could make with a debit card. At the same time, rewards program for debit cards are likely to get the axe, these people say. So wow, that's pretty messed up. New fees and requirements for debit cards are surfacing for the same reason that big banks are also rolling out new checking account fees. Banks are losing money because they can't charge old fees, so naturally they're countering with some new fees. And you know what is a bunch of shit? And you have to pardon my French on this, but all of these effing banks are insolvent. None of them, like I've mentioned this before in other economic news videos, they're all insolvent. None of them have the actual money that they're loaning out on hand. They don't even have close to the reserves that they're loaning out. Most of the money that you put in there is already gone. I mean, if anything, they should be paying us. I was thinking, it's weird because I was thinking about this before I read this article, and that's why I'm kind of going off a little bit more on this one, a little deeper into the subject, is because I was just thinking about this, about how, like, I put money into a bank that is insolvent. They shouldn't even be in existence, right? And I'm giving them my money for one reason only, so that I can use my debit card, so it's more convenient, and so I can store my cash in a safe place. I mean, that's why people do it, right? Those two reasons, right? For safety and for convenience. So, I mean, really, it should either break even or good. Hey, I'm giving you money so that capital, cash, cash is king. Everybody knows that. I'm giving you cash, which is capital, so you can use your little fraudulent fractional reserve system, and you can loan out 100 times the money that I give you, and you can go ahead and do that. Just make sure that my money is in there when I want to come and withdraw it. You know what I mean? And so you give me that little piece of plastic, and that way I don't have to carry cash around on me, and it may be a little more secure. So we should at least call it even, or the bank should be paying us money, right? But no, they want us to pay them money. I mean, that's how ridiculous it gets. So I'm sorry if I went off on it. I just wanted to break that down because, I mean, it's just insane. It's insane. IRS agent faces 9 years for cheating on his taxes. False tax form claims included bogus alimony and mortgage deductions. A California-based IRS agent could spend up to 9 years in prison after acknowledging that he cheated on his own taxes. Next up, record number of potholes, no money to repair them. Motorists are faced with a record number of potholes as snow, ice, and meltwater combine to create the worst driving conditions imaginable, the AA said yesterday. So, and, if you listen to Alan Watt, he has his own theory. He thinks that basically there's going to be these huge mega cities, and that's, basically it's going to be a lot. It's going to be the ground zero for eugenics. It already has been, it already is, but when the great calling takes place through a pandemic, or they drop a nuclear bomb, or whatever it is that the powers that be decide to do to kick off this final transformation to this brave new world. This thing with the cities is that they're gonna start cutting back all of the social welfare programs. They're gonna start privatizing municipalities. They're gonna stop fixing the roads. They're gonna let things go, and yeah, usually they'll fix them up and then hand them over to private companies, public infrastructure. But then with the roads and that, I think that there is going to be a shit hit the fan scenario, and that could be the reason why they just let the stuff go. And the only thing that they're really spending money on, if you've noticed, if you had your little eyeballs searching, observing instead of just being a little drone going about your day, you'll see all the cameras and all the fancy gadgets. I don't even know what half of them are. I just know that they're not benevolent. They're malevolent. They're spying on you. You have no privacy when you go out in public. And you'll notice that infrastructure is everywhere, hanging off private buildings, public infrastructure, toll roads, traffic, intersections, everything. So that's where all of that stimulus money went towards. EU says 2011 will be economically painful year. The year 2011 will be economically challenging and painful. European Commission President Jose Manuel Barroso warned on Wednesday after 2 years of economic recession. Barroso expects a difficult year ahead and underlined the need for Europe to make progress on economic governance. Which means NGOs and private organizations such as the World Bank and them basically over-regulating and having dictatorial powers. That's what governance means. It means you don't have, the little person, you don't have any kind of vote or say in it. It's basically top down. The big banks tell you what to do. They run the world, and that's why they're telling you how it's going to be. It's going to be a bad year. They're telling you the truth because they're the ones that help rig the economy. UK recovery threatened by weak services sector. Britain's dominant services sector suffered its first contraction in 20 months in December, sparking concerns about the resilience of the economic recovery. And then the next one, actually, I'm going to go down here. Service companies, which account for 3/4 of the national output last month, sold less and cut staff, according to the closely watched market SIPS Purchasing Managers Index PMI. Following a similar dip in construction output, experts said the UK economy appeared to have shrunk again in December. And next up is Europe unveils sweeping plans to govern reckless banks. So there you go, guys. That's what I just said. Brussels has called for sweeping. Everything's sweeping now. You notice that? New sweeping powers. That's when you know you're having less freedom, when you keep hearing that in the propaganda machine. Sweeping powers for every legislation that's passed. For regulators to seize failing EU banks, sack board members, and impose haircuts on senior bank debt, aiming to ensure that taxpayers are never again held hostage by high finance. Whatever, what a bunch of crock, right? The only one that can look out for you the best is you. That's it. That's the only one that can take care of your health, that can take care of your future, your pensions, or your retirement. They're the only one that can decide what's best for you is you. So I mean, to make this proposition is just totally ridiculous. They can't look out for you better than you can, and that's what people think. So Volcker to leave Obama Economic Advisory Panel. He must have done a bad job. Former Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker is expected to step down as head of a panel that advises President Barack Obama on economic issues, according to a person familiar with that matter. Mr. Volcker has been synonymous with a rule that bars banks from making certain types of trades with their own capital. That rule, which is aimed at helping damp risk, is part of a sweeping, here we go again, is part of a sweeping financial regulation passed last year and is known as the Volcker Rule. So it sounds very free market, huh? Great. Pentagon plans $78 billion in spending cuts. Big news in today. Secretary of Defense Gates unveiled sweeping changes. See, there we go again. See, you guys? I told you, everything is sweeping. It's so effing awesome that every article now is saying that, because it's verifying what I just said. I don't go through all these articles word by word before I report them. I'm going through them for the first time with you. So it's just it's interesting, isn't it? Said unveiled sweeping changes to the Pentagon's spending priorities Thursday, part of a plan to cut spending by $78 billion over 5 years. And if you know anything about modern warfare, I remember Cheney and Rumsfeld talking about it, mostly Rumsfeld, Donald Rumsfeld, ex-defense secretary, talking about modern warfare includes less humans and more machines. So that's why you're having all these drone attacks. That's why you're having more just regular jet plane bombings. And now I'm going to be covering an article in the next video talking about basically computers having like a visual eye to be able to have vision. Computers, they can see around like humans on the battlefield, so they can take the positions of like Marine recon and Army scouts, basically reconnaissance, and they want to replace those people too. Ultimately, they want to replace every human being with a machine. And that's because they want to take the human element out of killing humans. See, humans killing humans, people don't like that. Machines killing humans, people kind of have a disconnect with that. It's not really happening. It's not a war. So that's what's so crafty about this new modern warfare, is that it's all about being small and using technology and having less bullets, less people, and actually doing more damage. So that's what this is all about. Also, China could also be the new global army of the world. We've been that. We've had those reigns, so they might be taking over those reigns. Algerians protest over price hikes. Algerians protesting over cost of living hikes have clashed with riot police in cities and towns across the country while chanting slogans. Next up, Aberdeen SNP councillors apply pay cut. Scottish National Party councillors higher ranks on Aberdeen City Council have applied the planned pay cut in parallel to what previously was proposed by employees. Britain braces for more civil unrest due to cuts. And so student leaders and union officials, as well as hundreds of online activists, will meet next week to discuss ways to push forward their agenda. Next up is why are taxpayers subsidizing Facebook and the next bubble. It says here Goldman Sachs is investing $450 million of its own in Facebook. Its valuation that implies the social networking company is now worth $50 billion. Goldman is also creating a fund that will offer its high net worth clients an opportunity to invest in Facebook. And I heard about this. I think it was Alan Watt that was actually talking about this a couple months ago. It's about how Facebook will start dealing in actual credits, money, and investment. So as here, rail passengers faced with double whammy of price hike and delays, commuters forced to endure record New Year's fare increases were dealt a double blow. Next up, bankruptcy filings leapt 9 9% last year. China to buy 6 billion euros of Spanish debt, and the eco bulb cost makers cash in as the ban on old style bulbs kick in. Remember, those things give off radiation, the new ones. This is GGN, and I'm Darko.